All right. Welcome you to the first ever live edition of Source Material. As to whether this is any good, it's anybody's guess here. But I want to welcome you if anybody's tuning in live. If not, catching it on later, iTunes and Stitcher. And tonight we're going to have a fun series to talk about that was given to us by Marvel in the early 90s, a series by the name of the Infinity Gauntlet. But before I go any further, I want to try and do my good hostful duties and bring on my guest, a friend of mine, Dave. What's going on, Dave? How you doing, man?
Okay, Jesse, I'm doing great.
Now, I specifically requested you to be on here because you're definitely the person that knows most about Marvel Cosmic in my circle of comic book reading friends. There's a few characters in here that I believe are some of your favorites, and of course we're going to get into that. Let me just ask you a real quick question. Now, Infinity Gauntlet 6-issue series came out in the early 90s. Did you buy this off the newsstand?
Yeah, actually I did. At the time, it was early in my collecting career, I purchased this comic from the newsstand. So yes, it was one of the first actual miniseries that I read. And I was just kind of blown away by it. Ever since then, I've always been a fan of several of the characters that are in the issues. Being number one, Thanos, who's an extremely popular character nowadays, and also the Silver Surfer was one of my favorite characters from the series, along with a lot of the cosmic characters that are in the series, like Drax the Destroyer and Gamora. They're all involved in the new movie that just came out. So yeah, I always enjoyed this series and enjoyed a lot of the characters in it. And over the years, I've still collected a lot of the series that have those characters in them.
This is the early 90s that this came out. How long had you been collecting at that point in time?
Probably a couple years. I think probably about 3 years prior to that, I started collecting comics. So originally I had collected G.I. Joe comics. So this was quite a different series than G.I. Joe.
Oh my goodness,
a lot
no kidding.
Larger scale, and the characters were a lot more creative, let's say.
Absolutely. Okay, Thanos is your favorite guy. Can you give us a little bit of background on Thanos?
Sure. Thanos was a character. His actual first appearance was in the Iron Man comic, Iron Man issue number 55. That was his debut, and over the years, he's always been one of the biggest Marvel villains in their universe. He's always sought sort of ultimate power. Prior to the Infinity Gauntlet, he had possessed something called a cosmic cube, which gave him infinite power, and a lot of heroes banded together and also caused him to lose that power. And then throughout the years, he's also tried to get other things in other series. So the Infinity Gauntlet, though, was one of the first series that drew on the Infinity Gems. When Thanos returned, he actually returned in the Silver Surfer comic, issue 34, in the second series of the Silver Surfer. So if any of you out there are, looking to get some of the background issues on this, that's what you'd want to start with, is sort of the Silver Surfer, and that sort of leads into this Infinity Gauntlet. Also, there's a series called the Thanos Quest, which was more of a hardcover book that talked about Thanos, how he came about getting the Infinity Gems. Basically, seized them from these beings called the Elders of the Universe, who basically are the last sole survivor of their race in the universe. So they are, they have infinite life, I guess is how you would say it. They're not going to die. They're called the Elders of the Universe. And Thanos seized all the Infinity Gems from them and then put them together. And actually, the reason why he came to get the Infinity Gems was he was trying to kill half the population in the universe to please death, which is what Thanos worships. That's sort of a little of the background behind Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thanos is a nihilist, which I find this so funny because I've read this series. I think I bought this series off the newsstand just like you did, and I didn't realize the scope. I just remember reading this series and the stuff that stood out to me. I'll get to here later when I break it down issue by issue. But there was stuff that happens in this series that I never saw happen before to our heroes of the Marvel Universe. But back to Thanos being a nihilist, and what I found so funny is the fact that a nihilist, I believe the definition of that word is somebody who loves death. Now, normally we're thinking of that in a figurative sense, but what's so funny is that this is also in a physical sense, because he is not only trying to please or kill off half the population, which is something that a nihilist would probably want to do. He is in love with death herself, and it is death who put him up to this, correct?
Yes, Death actually brought Thanos back to life and gave him the power in order to achieve this goal. And at the time when Death brought him back, Death gave him information saying, there's certain people in the universe that are going to be against you, and one of them was the Silver Surfer. So that's why he initially went after the Silver Surfer, because apparently Silver Surfer was one of those heroes that was going to try to stop him. So he sought to destroy the Silver Surfer first, which in the actual comic book he sort of faked his death, and the Silver Surfer believed he was dead, and later on he discovered he wasn't. But, that's sort of some more background there.
Okay. Well, let me just do a real quick. I'm going to do what we do here on the Radulich Broadcasting Network quite a bit, and we're going to, or at least on the shows that I'm on, we're going to reference Wikipedia here. I'm going to break down the gems for the Infinity Gauntlet here. There's 6 gems that are part of the Marvel universe, because there's actually, I didn't know this, but there's actually 2 more that are not really part of the Marvel canon. I'll mention them here at the end, but the 6 gems of the Infinity Gauntlet, okay, or the 6 Infinity Gems. We got the Soul Gem, which is the green gem. It allows users to steal, control, manipulate, and alter souls, living or dead, and is the gateway to an idyllic pocket universe that is much like heaven. It also has the ability to steal powers and the abilities of others, which is why people argue that this gem is more powerful than the other gems. The Soul Gem is actually sentient and has a hunger for souls. It is often considered to be the most dangerous and corrupt of all gems. Mastery of the gem would allow the user to control all living life in the universe. Okay, that's number 1. And we got number 2, which is the Time Gem, the orange gem. It allows user total control over the past, present, and future, allows time travel, can age and de-age beings, and also be used as a weapon by trapping enemies or entire universes in unending loops of time. Also, at full potential, grants omniscience, which you're going to know everything in the past, present, and future. And I think you can be in all places. But if there was any gem that I ever wanted to have, that would be that one. You know me in the Back to the Future. So then we got the Space Gem, which is the purple gem, allows the user to exist in any or all locations, moves any object anywhere throughout reality, and warp and rearrange space. At full potential, it grants omnipresence. We have the Mind Gem, blue gem, which allows the user to greatly strengthen and enhance mental and psionic power and access thoughts, dreams of other beings. It says, backed by the Power Gem, the Mind Gem can access all minds and exist simultaneously. Then we have the Reality Gem, which is the yellow gem, allows the user to fulfill wishes, even if the wish is in direct contradiction with scientific laws. Then we have the Power Gem, red gem, which accesses all power and energy that ever has or will exist, and can boost the other gem's effects. Allows the user to duplicate almost any physical superhuman ability and grants omnipotence. So there's your 6 Infinity Gems. Now imagine a gauntlet that puts all this power together, and that is what Thanos acquired, and that's what we're going to get into, because right off the bat, Infinity Gauntlet number 1, Thanos has got the gauntlet and all the gems. Thanos Quest, he went and got the gems, and then Infinity Gauntlet, he has it, and that's where our story starts. Let me mention these other 2 that exist outside of the Marvel canon and have no effect on this story and whatsoever. But there apparently is something called the Ego Gem, which is a gold gem, and the Rhythm Gem, which is a pink gem. The gold gem, I think, has an appearance in Marvel Superhero Squad, and the Rhythm Gem, same thing in Marvel Superhero Squad. So, that's way after the Infinity Gauntlet. So, okay. All right, so what do you got to say, Dave? You got anything else you want to add or mention there before I go on to the creative team?
No, just one thing. Actually, I was at the comic book shop this past week, and I noticed a hardcover book that actually compiled every single issue that was involved in the Infinity Gauntlet. So all 6 issues plus all the crossovers with all the other comics. So
Whoa.
It was all compiled in one huge volume that I think was about 1,000 pages or so. I mean, it was a huge book.
Jeezy, crime. What's on the front of it?
Something I hadn't seen before. So, if anybody out there is wanting to read this and get everything, it is out there compiled into one book, has all the issues in it. So I think the retail on that was like what was that?
I was going to say, what was on the front of it?
Can't remember the cover exactly. I don't think it was Infinity Gauntlet 1. It just, I don't remember the exact cover. But I think it was over $100. It was like $125 for the total book, which I think there's probably over 60 or 70 comics in that whole, set. So might be worth picking up.
Was this at half off books?
No, this was at one of the comic book shops here, from where I live.
Man, I don't know if I would drop the money on that. I mean, if I don't have the story, and plus you said all the crossovers, which that would be pretty nice to actually have the one volume.
It had like the Thanos quest, and it had all the Silver Surfer issues with it. It had Quasar crossovers, Avengers crossovers, any series that had that actual event at that time.
Damn, that's awesome. All right, well, creative team-wise, Infinity Gauntlet 1 through 6 was written by a guy by the name of Jim Starlin. Pretty accomplished writer. I was looking over some of the stuff on his wiki page. Looks like he was credited with co-creating Thanos and Drax, also Gamora, and a not so. I actually have a few issues with this guy, but Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, he seems to be coming back a little bit as of late. Anyway, he's credited with bringing back revamping, they say on here, revamping Captain Marvel and Adam Warlock. But yeah, he's the writer of our epic Infinity Gauntlet series that we're going to be covering. Now the art was done by George Perez, and it looks like I think George stuck around for a few issues and then had to kind of take a seat because of health issues or just take a rest. Ron Lim came in and did some art also on the series. Jim Starlin, do you follow him very much, Sarah Dave?
Just from his writing on the Silver Surfer. So he's written a lot of the Silver Surfer issues and also a lot of the cosmic series that are in Marvel from the early 90s. He was involved in a lot of those. And also Ron Lim, he was always an artist generally on the Silver Surfer. So I'm familiar with them, although I don't know too much background about them. But I do know that they worked on a lot of the Marvel cosmic characters. And I think George Perez is pretty famous in general. He's done a lot of things. He's
done a lot of stuff. You got a favorite Jim Starlin storyline other than the Infinity Gauntlet, or is Infinity Gauntlet, you think, his best thing he's got out there?
Yeah, I'd probably go with the Infinity Gauntlet. I mean, there's a couple issues, in the Silver Surfer series, that second series, that are pretty good. But overall, I'd probably go with the Infinity Gauntlet as being one of his better series. Not too familiar with who wrote, the follow-ups on this. The Infinity War, and then there was the Infinity Crusade. I don't know if Starlin was involved in those, but those certainly weren't as popular as this original, Infinity Gauntlet series.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go ahead, and what I want to do is I want to quickly break down issue 1, and then I'll kind of give you my thoughts on it, and we'll get your thoughts on it. Let me ask you real quick, when's the last time you read Infinity Gauntlet before I told you I was going to bring you on here?
I mean, I even pick it up, I read it once a year probably, maybe, yeah.
Really?
Pick up the issue. Yeah.
That's dedication, man. I'm like, seriously, dude, I've probably read this series maybe 10 years ago at best. And now the only reason I'm saying I'm the kind of guy that I can't repeat stuff too often. I'm always trying to read something new. But there are plenty of people I talk to, just like you, that they have a story that they've got to read or they enjoy. They pick it up once a year, or just like you said, they'll pick it up once a year, once every other year, and read it up because it's that good. And this one, I can't blame you, to be honest, because I think it's definitely epic. All right, so issue 1. I'm going to break it down here for you and do issue 1 and try and give you a brief synopsis. I'm going to try my best to keep it at 5 minutes. All right, issue 1 titled, I believe it's titled God. I looked for a title in here, and the way they did the titles on these books kind of interesting, because that's the first word you see, I think, in this book is a rock figure of the word God. Thanos is just looking at it. But okay, so at this point, we're right at the beginning of the book. We know Thanos has the Infinity Gauntlet, and he's out in space on some kind of a planet, and he's you notice that there's a kind of shifty character that's hanging out with him, and if you're pretty familiar with Marvel Comics, you may know this person by the name of Mephisto. So he's kind of hanging out with Thanos, and that's kind of, they just kind of prelude to that Thanos and Mephisto are out there. Thanos is using the gauntlet and just kind of testing his power out. I think he blows the freaking planet up that he's on. But, of course, Mephisto's just fine and Thanos is just fine. But then we cut to one of your favorite characters, the Silver Surfer, who comes crashing through Doctor Strange's house. Back on Earth, Doctor Strange is minding his own business, and boom, here comes the Silver Surfer through the roof. And we get a little bit of a backstory, Doctor Strange rushes up there, what's going on, and Silver Surfer relays to him pretty much the story that you gave us in regards to the Thanos quest.
Right. The backstory with that scene, too, is in Silver Surfer 50, he fights Thanos, and this is the result. He goes to Earth, and he's trying to warn the heroes that Thanos is actually alive, and, they need to get ready to battle him. So,
yeah, I mean,
this takes place after Silver Surfer 50.
Yeah, he's laying there. Doctor Strange is, what's going on, and he's just laying there. Now, it takes a little bit to beat the Silver Surfer, okay? I'd say that but, Silver Surfer comes crashing down. Just a bit, yeah. And he's laying down, and he's half beaten, and he's just yelling, he's kind of going off, Thanos is coming, Thanos is coming. We then kind of, we get a good idea of what's going on, just kind of like what we talked about. Thanos' love for death, his intent to wipe half the population of the universe out of existence to please death. That's his intent. He hasn't done it yet. We're also, in this issue, introduced to Adam Warlock, Pip, and Gamora. Pip the Troll. I don't think they really fully appear in this first issue. They end up coming. They kind of set it up for their return. We cut back to Thanos and Mephisto, and Death is hanging out. Thanos has got Death there beside him, and we find out that Death is upset that Thanos has the gems, or at least, that's kind of what the vibe is. From what I understand, Death is upset that Thanos has the Infinity Gauntlet. Thanos is in love with Death, and I mean, he wants her affection, and she's just giving a cold shoulder to this guy. What he's trying to do is he's trying to impress her. Now, one of the things that he does is he brings back his granddaughter, his supposed granddaughter by the name of Nebula, and she's just like this disfigured zombie-looking girl. And Thanos is saying, "Look, Death, check this out. Here's Nebula. Yeah, she's my granddaughter, and she's kind of living on the verge of life and death. Take a look at her. This is what I can do. Does this please you?" Again, she's not pleased. Now, Death is a mute. Let's go ahead and get this straight off the bat. Death is a mute. Throughout this whole series, she does not say anything. She doesn't say anything at all. Somebody reminds Thanos, "Hey, you forgot to complete the terms of your resurrection. You need to wipe out population of, or half the population of the universe." So Thanos raises his hand, and with a snap of his fingers, half the universe's population is gone. Basically, this issue ends with the universe reacting. Now, at first, it's focused on our superheroes on Earth. We see Spider-Man. He's hanging out above Times Square or whatever, and then all of a sudden, half the people disappear. Captain America, same thing. Nick Fury, same thing. But then it starts going out across the galaxy. We start seeing that the Kree and the Skrulls, which are two alien races, are also their population is disappearing. Now, the Kree and the Skrull don't get along, so they start blaming each other. They're about to go to war because of it. But it pretty much ends with the different perspectives across Earth and the galaxy realizing that the population had blinked out of it. So that's issue 1. A great beginning to the story. Cover's awesome. I mean, basically the cover is, I put it on the slideshow here. It's Thanos with the gauntlet, and the gems are sparkling every which way, and we see all our typical iconic Marvel superheroes, the Hulk, Spider-Man. They're all on the front. So this is going to be an impactful series with this issue 1. So that's probably why I grabbed it when I was a kid. I really honestly cannot remember grabbing this issue. I know I got it off the newsstands, and I'm sure that's probably what spoke to me was the cover. That's what everybody will tell you. It's the cover of a comic that's designed to try and get you to pick it up. So anyway, that was issue 1. You got anything you want to, anything that jumps out at you at issue 1 here?
No, nothing to add to what you've already said.
Okay, all right.
Got it covered.
Issue 2 is titled From Bad to Worse. I'll just go ahead and describe the cover here real quick. We got She-Hulk, the Vision, Thor, and Captain America. So it's the Avengers. I don't know if She-Hulk was a member back then or not. I know at one point she was a member of the Fantastic Four, but I can't remember in the early 90s. But regardless, they're all looking at this big computer screen, and there's a ton of superheroes that are listed that are on the computer screen up there. So titled From Bad to Worse. So we start out again with people dealing with the population disappearing. We get a few shots of how these superheroes are dealing with things, and then we cut to Quasar and Epoch. Now, I'm not very familiar with Quasar at all, and Epoch, again, I know he's one of those cosmic entities. I think he's affiliated with the Eon somehow. You got any background on these guys for me?
Well, not too much on Epoch, I guess. As far as Quasar, he wields the Quantum Bands, which are I guess he's considered the protector of the universe, and he is sort of the emissary for Epoch. So he's one of the, lesser-known cosmic beings, really. I mean, I haven't seen him appear very much in the comics, and I have never been really a big fan of Quasar, so don't know too much about him.
Okay.
Just know that. And actually, I think in the more recent Marvel series, they've actually used Quasar a little more, in the Annihilation event, and they've sort of brought his character out a little bit more, but they've sort of changed him. But anyway, he is a part of this.
Well, I can tell you in a point in this series, he seems like he's a heavy hitter. Quasar does anyway, or at least they bring him out like he's a heavy hitter to me. But okay, so Quasar is summoned by Epoch. Apparently, Epoch knows that some shit's about to go down. We got the Kree going to war with the Skrulls, or at least they're getting ready to, just like I mentioned, because one blames the other. These two races blame the other race for the population disappearance. We cut back to Doctor Strange. He's still dealing with the Silver Surfer here, and he gets, this is the best way I can describe it, ethereally, I can't even say it, but he gets ethereally summoned by a stranger who says he can help against Thanos. Now, we don't know who this stranger is, but basically Strange gets yanked out to the astral plane. How's that? Is that better? He gets yanked out to the astral plane.
That's how you define it.
Okay, all right. And a stranger says, hey, I can help you against Thanos, all right? We now cut back to Thanos, who is out on this planet. I don't even know if it's a planet. At this point in time, I think he's built a shrine to Death. Trying to please Death, he built a shrine. So there's this just like big block of stuff sitting out there in the middle of space, and it's just this mountain. There's like statues of Death and skulls everywhere. So Thanos had apparently created this, but he summons his brother Eros, which is a superhero by the name of Star Fox. Again, if you look at Eros and Thanos, you were going to scratch your head as to how they're brothers. There was something that I looked at some stuff online. There's something about Thanos having something called the deviant gene, which is why he doesn't look like his other brothers. Can you give me some input on as to what that is? Or
yeah, that's right. I mean, he's born with what's called the deviant gene, which is similar to, I think, what there is on Earth, because there's things called the Eternals, and then there's the deviants. So it's just a genetic anomaly in their genetic code that causes them to look differently than everybody else. And basically, because of that, Thanos was shunned when he was on Titan by a lot of people. So in some of his origin issues, that's kind of how he developed, this love of death and everything, because he wasn't loved enough by everybody else, I guess you could say. He definitely was.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this guy compared to his brother, I mean, his brother he's a typical looking, somewhat, his hairdo's a little messed up, but I mean, I'll give Eros or Star Fox he looks like a human. So, okay. So Eros is summoned to his side. So Thanos has now brought his half-dead, half-alive granddaughter back, and we got Eros' brother there. Eros apparently has emotion manipulation powers, and he kind of tries to use them on Thanos in this issue, trying to just kind of, I'm sure he's trying to get out of the situation he's in. So Thanos just kind of erases Eros' mouth, which I think if there's a couple things that stick out in this series, that really disturbed me for some reason. The way they drew this guy, I mean, it's just his eyes, his nose, and a blank freaking face. So that I remember reading through this, man, it just freaks me out. But okay.
Yeah,
all right. So
it's kind of freaky.
I mean, yeah, you look at it, it's kind of freaky. Now we're going to get into, I think, your wheelhouse here, because they now pan to, we were talking about how it erased half the population of the universe. Now we're not talking Earth, or we're not just talking galaxies. We're also talking about Asgard, because Odin, I believe, calls a meeting in Asgard with all these, I think he calls them High Fathers. They're talking about how they're going to deal with the situation. And so they're kind of working on a plan. So we've got a lot of people trying to devise something to fix the situation. We also find out that Pip the Troll, I think, shows up in this issue. Dr. Doom ends up going to Dr. Strange's house because he traced the power source by trying to figure out what's going on. So now we got Dr. Doom butting his big metal face into things. Finally, Adam Warlock appears, and we find he's the stranger that Dr. Strange was talking to. Now, Adam Warlock was, I believe, in the Soul Gem and then made his way back to Earth. So he's saying, hey, look, guys, I'm here to help. I'm going to try and help you guys take care of Thanos, and we're going to get this situation fixed. Thanos does some. If we go back to Thanos is torturing Eros and Nebula to try and please Death again. Man, I mean, I tell you what, Death is one old chick. Mm-hmm. She just won't. I mean, anything that he does, it's just like, yeah, I'm not impressed. Now there's another guy taking notice, and I wrote this in big bold capital letters because I knew you'd like it. A guy by the name of Galactus. He's kind of taking notice as to what's going on. I think he went to go try and eat a planet or something, and something made him upset. So somehow Thanos pissed Galactus off. Also, Earth is hit with a destructive wave of force. I'm guessing this is something that Thanos created because Iron Man is flying above California, he's flying above California, and he just watches the west coast of the United States fall into the ocean. All right, now we're starting to cross over into, oh crap, stuff's getting real. You know, I guess I shouldn't say that because half the population did disappear. But I mean, you're watching half the coast start falling to the ocean, just like the title says, from bad to worse. The East Coast is hit with tidal waves. Asgard is hit with a bunch of earthquakes and stuff. The Isles of Japan are gone. So at the end of the issue, things are really dire, and all of Marvel's superheroes are intending to gather up and try to figure out what they need to do. So here we kind of got an issue that kind of ties things together. We're trying to bring everybody together to address the problem, and that's pretty much how the issue ends. These guys getting together, and we're getting prepared for the third issue. Well, okay, let me ask you a real quick question. All right, I read all 6 issues here. Are we going to get to a point? I don't remember it happening. I mean, we've got Odin and all these guys getting together, and they're going to take out. They're going to try and address what's going on, but they don't make another appearance, do they? Or do they make another appearance in the later issues?
Well, Odin and all the Sky Fathers, because of his he sent out that force, they're basically all stuck on Asgard. So none of them can leave there. Yeah, they're basically stranded on Asgard. Yeah.
That puts it together for me because I remember the issue I think it's in that issue. The Bifrost Bridge is broke, I believe. I mean, it's like kind of like shattered. So no wonder they couldn't. Man, would you have loved it if they would have showed up and took on?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that would have been a great battle, too, I mean, to have in this comic. I mean, Thanos versus Odin, that's always a battle that, it happens a couple times throughout comics, and it's always, a great battle. So
knock down, drag out. Yeah, I hear you. Okay, well, issue 3, we'll get into issue 3 here, Inspirations for War. Issue 3 is it's just like it says. The front of it says Call to Arms, but it's preparations for. We again see that Thanos is still trying to win Death's heart. He's trying to get the attention. He's just trying to get a smile out of this one. And he's doing, he's trying his best. Our world, the Earth, is now out of orbit because of this destructive wave that hit. It's knocked our world out of orbit, and everybody's worried that we're going to be hitting an ice age. So it's continually getting worse for us. Cut to Doctor Strange. It's Doctor Strange, Doctor Doom, Silver Surfer, and Warlock all jump to seek help from the Avengers. They then draft as many people that are left, pretty much, of the Marvel superhero universe to bring everybody in, or those who can try and help. They're getting this army together because the threat is pretty dire. I mean, Thanos has a gauntlet that it pretty much makes him God. So they're going to get everything together, and they're going to formulate, just like it says, a call to arms. So they're going to get everybody together, and they're going to figure out a way to attack this guy. We also have a portion where, Dave, you got to leave, man.
Yeah, I got to jump off here, Jesse. It's been a pleasure here chatting with you. And I urge everybody to pick up the Gauntlet series when you get a chance and read it. It's going to be a very important, series in the upcoming movies that they're going to, Marvel's going to put out. So thank you for letting me be a part of this.
Absolutely. I appreciate you coming on, man. Next time, you get some get some time on your hands and you want to talk anything, shoot it my way. I'm willing to read anything. So, again, thank you very much for coming on here, keeping me company for these first few issues. And I'll talk to you soon. I'm sure I'll talk to you later this week or something. All right, man?
All right.
All right, dude. Take care.
Talk to you later. Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was my buddy Dave. Like I said, he's the guy I go to explain to me cosmic stuff. That's why I thought he'd be fun to bring on here. Give us a little bit of background on some of these guys. He stuck around for us. He initially told me he had about half hour, so he stuck around with us a little bit longer than he could. So that's cool. But again, I appreciate Dave coming on and talking with us. So, okay, let me go ahead and pick up. We'll speed this up a little bit. We're working into 45 minutes. I know you guys don't want to listen to me for the next hour. So, okay, Warlock and Silver Surfer teleport to deep space while all these heroes are gathering on Earth. And out in deep space, we now get to see some cosmic entities. Out there is Epoch and Quasar. I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. It may be Epoch. I don't know. But anyway, Epoch and Quasar are out there. Eternity, the Watcher. We all know the Watcher if we're fans of the What Ifs. And I think he's a part of this new series that just came out called Original Sin that Marvel's got going on. But anyway, the Watcher's out there. We got Chaos and Order, Kronos, Love, Hate, the Stranger, two Celestials, the Living Tribunal, and Galactus. Now, I know I'm probably naming a bunch of guys. If you've never read the series or you're not into Marvel Cosmic, a bunch of these guys are just you never even heard of. But these are cosmic entities that have, and I wish I could even, they have great power. We'll just put it that way. That's about as simple as they're huge. All right, and of all these guys, the biggest one, it seems like the one that seems to have the most weight out of these dudes is the Living Tribunal, and he pretty much just says, "I'm not getting involved." So he leaves, and Eternity leaves shortly after that because Warlock and Surfer are there to tell them, hey, look, we need some help. And yeah, we got all these heroes about ready to go, but it would be nice if you guys kind of stepped in too. Living Tribunal, probably the heaviest hitter of all those dudes, he's out of here. Eternity then leaves promptly after that. The Watcher, get this, the Watcher pretty much says, I'll watch. So, hence the name. Warlock makes a plea, man. It would be great if you could get involved here. And the Watcher says, nope, I'm gonna just watch. So he kind of takes off. Warlock proceeds to piss off Galactus, of all people, and apparently gets obliterated. Galactus just nails him with these eye beams, but Warlock has no problem just coming back and saying, yeah, you can kill me, but I'm coming back. So you're wasting your time. So the people that join Warlock and Silver Surfer on the quest, Epoch and Quasar, whatever. Stranger is in, Love, Hate, Kronos. They all join. I believe he ends up talking Galactus into staying somehow. Now we have these cosmic beings that are coming together, and they're going to attempt to also back up Warlock. Okay, now we're going to cut back to Earth. The team is not, they're at least trying to get a little bit used to with the fact that Doctor Doom is joining. They know they can't trust him, but they know they need him. They need every bit of firepower that they can muster against Thanos. So they're finally kind of getting used to the fact that Doctor Doom, and so they're getting ready, trying to figure out a plan of attack. And that, I've said that probably like 3 or 4 times. It's kind of funny that these first 3 issues are just these superheroes getting together, formulating a plan. But we're about to get into the fun parts of the issues here pretty soon. So, by the way, okay, so we cut back to Thanos hanging out with Death, trying to please Death, and Watcher shows up. Okay, now Watcher really only appears when something's serious about to go down. So it's kind of like the Watcher just kind of gave it away. Like, of course, I don't think there was any fooling a guy who is pretty much got the power of a god. He probably knew it was coming. But Watcher shows up, and he's just kind of hovering above, Thanos' shrine to Death. Thanos is getting a little tired of Death giving him the cold shoulder. He's like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to create the perfect girl. So he creates a lady by the name of Taraxia the Terrible, which is everything his soul longs for. And Death could pretty much give a shit less. It's so funny because, he pines for her attention so much that Taraxia is just hanging all over Thanos, and he's kind of hugging her, but he kind of looks up, and you could tell he's just agitated with the fact that Death has just turned and started to walk away. Thanos, even though he's trying his best to get Death just, look his way, not happening. All right, final part of the issue, number 3. The heroes are now good to go. They're together. They've got a plan. Warlock shows up and says, okay, are you guys ready? And they say, yep, okay. So Warlock and Silver Surfer, they leave, and they're a couple light years away, basically, from Thanos. As the heroes get ready to go through this teleport that Doctor Strange opens up to go battle Thanos, we find out that Warlock is quite aware that those heroes, no matter how powerful they are and no matter how many they are, will be no match for Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. All they are a diversion. And this is quoted from the book, they are sacrificial lambs. So the last page, the 2-page spread of our heroes arriving on Death's throne in outer space, getting ready to commence battle. They're just kind of, some of them are hovering there, some of them are on the shrine, and Thanos is just kind of standing there watching them. He knew it was coming. So that's the end of issue 3. This is where we're getting into a part where I kind of wish I had Dave here because I had a great question for him. I'll ask it to him here on Facebook or something like that when he's here shortly after this. But okay, we're getting into issue 4, which is I think my favorite cover. Issue 4 is just Thanos in the middle. He's got planets on his side, and it's deep outer space. He's just kind of standing there, and it says, "Come and get me." Great cover. So issue 4, we're going to start right into it. This is the battle issue. And this is where our Marvel superheroes are going to take on Thanos, and we're going to whip his ass. We're going to get this Infinity Gauntlet back. Well, just before the first blow lands, Thanos stops time. So all these heroes are just stopped. Can't move, can't do nothing. And he's about to kill him because he can. He's just like, I don't even want to bother with. But a key player gets in Thanos' ear that we mentioned earlier that's hanging around for some strange reason. Mephisto comes up to him and says, well, wait a second. Don't kill him yet. If you really want to impress Death, why don't you show her some courage? Show her that quality, and that might actually get her attention. And, of course, that's, we got to have a fair fight somehow. So that's probably why they built that in there. But, Mephisto says, why don't you just kind of see if there's a way you can kind of cut back? So Thanos is like, yeah, you're right. So he does something to where he's not utilizing the gauntlet fully. He cuts off some kind of, sensory input or whatever. I don't know what you want to call it. But he has cut a link to the gauntlet. He could still use some of its power, but he's not as powerful as a god. Just go that, okay? In the battle, Dr. Doom, of course, goes for the Infinity Gauntlet when Thanos is down, but Thanos zaps him big time. Like, you see him get tossed a good ways away, and when he gets up, his cloak's all burnt off, and everything is. He's not dead, but he got messed up pretty good. Thor, our good buddy Thor, gets the drop on Thanos, but Thanos transports the hammer away. And at this point in time, Thor is like, if I don't have the hammer, I'm going to turn back into Eric Masterson. So if he doesn't have Mjolnir, he's not going to be able to continue to be Thor. He gets a few good hits in on Thanos, but I think he gets tossed away. He isn't turned into Eric Masterson yet, which I'm guessing is his human alter ego. This is where I need Dave. Now we start getting into this is the issue that really grabbed me and made me realize that there's some stuff going down in here that is serious, because we start seeing our Marvel superheroes start to bite the dust. I'm just going to go ahead and run down the list of our superheroes that we watch in this battle and how they get killed, okay? Our first casualties are Namor and She-Hulk. Namor the Submariner and She-Hulk. I'm putting a guess out there, but they get covered in some kind of death moss. It freezes them in place, and that's the last you see of them. They're just covered in the brown crap. And, completely covered. Wolverine actually jumps and nails Thanos in the chest with his claws. Thanos then turns his adamantium bones into rubber. So you just see this Wolverine laying on the ground, and he's just twisted and just kind of laying all floppy. And it's not what you see Wolverine. You're thinking Wolverine's got him, but no, not the case. Scarlet Witch gets her face eye-beamed off, basically. They don't show it, but remember, this is back in the early 90s, so horrible, horrible deaths are not being shown. However, there are some stuff that, again, this issue just left to your imagination. Cyclops gets an airtight cube around his head. He's trying to hit Thanos with these eye beams, and Thanos just puts this airtight cube around his head. He basically suffocates to death. Iron Man, Taraxia gets a hold of him. Taraxia, that girl that Thanos created, Taraxia gets a hold of him and rips his head off. Vision of the Avengers gets killed by Thanos running his fist through his Vision's chest. Cloak of Cloak and Dagger, which I don't know if they're around. I don't know if in recent continuity. I'm sure they're. I don't know if there's any stories that involve them recently. I remember Cloak and Dagger from the early '90s. They were pretty popular back. But Cloak envelops Thanos. He basically has this power where his cloak will put you into the. If you fall into his cloak, it puts you into this dark dimension. So Cloak envelops Thanos in his cloak, and you're thinking, oh man, that's it. Thanos is done. However, Cloak starts yelling, I can't hold him, and then Cloak promptly explodes, and Thanos is just standing there. So Cloak's dead. Now, to get to our main man, a guy by the name of Spider-Man, Peter Parker, he is hitched a ride, by the way, and he's showed up to give Thanos what for. However, Traxia, there's just a couple panels where Traxia gets him on the ground, and I think there's a panel where she's holding this rock, this pointed rock, and it's just bloody at the end of it. You don't see Spider-Man, but you know that she's beating him to death with this rock. Thor is turned to glass and shattered. So I think he ends up getting his hammer back and goes at Thanos. Thanos is like, boom, turns him into glass and then punches him and shatters him. Nova shows up, a guy by the name of Nova, which is another cosmic character. Dave mentioned Annihilation earlier. I think he's very prominent in that. Nova shows up, and he's promptly turned a colorful toy block. That's pretty much what he says. And then Thanos just steps on a bunch of blocks. So, and then one more. Remember how I talked about Quasar? And I thought he was a heavy hitter. So Quasar shows up after all this destruction, and he's like, okay, I'm not letting this continue. So he's ready to hit him with these quantum bands, the power of these quantum bands, and Thanos pretty much just blows his hands off of him, and the quantum bands are gone. And then proceeds to get eye-beamed to death. Thanos hits him with these eye-beams, and he just. The next panel is just all these heroes decimated on Death's world, and there's a cloud of dust where Quasar was, so he's dead. So right here, I'm like, I remember reading that and just going, whoa, okay, this guy just killed all these iconic superheroes that I was aware of. It was pretty staggering for me back, I think in 91, what was I, 12 or 13 years old. So, and I hadn't been collecting for very long at that point in time, but I knew the guys, I knew the characters. So, okay, Captain America is kind of our last standing figure there, and he bravely goes up to Thanos. He's like, as long as one of us stands, you haven't won. So Thanos proceeds to hit him so hard that his adamantium shield shatters, and it's a pretty crushing blow. So the captain just stands there, and Thanos raises his hand, and he's going to hit him with the gauntlet and kill him. About that time, the light years away, Warlock and Silver Surfer are sitting there, and Warlock screams, now! Silver Surfer takes off like a shot, and I mean, he's blazing speed, Silver Surfer speed, and his goal is to grab that Infinity Gauntlet off of Thanos' hand. So he lunges for it and just misses. Wow, what a letdown. This prompts Thanos to realize that he has made a grave mistake by allowing the heroes even a chance to beat him. So at that point in time, he's like, okay, well, I'm definitely not making that mistake again. And he turns back all his power on from the Infinity Gauntlet. So Warlock and Silver Surfer kind of, oh man, we just about had him. And what the heck is going to happen now? I don't know if Captain America gets killed in this one or not, but after Silver Surfer misses grabbing the gauntlet, he just basically gives Captain America a big backhand, and you just see Captain America fall to the ground. So I don't know if he gets killed or not. It's definitely nowhere near as graphic as some of the other stuff that happened. But we're at the end of issue 4 here. The last issue is a big 2-page spread of the cosmic beings that we met earlier, last issue. But these cosmic beings are hovering over Thanos and his shrine to death. So we've got all these guys that agreed to take on Thanos. So sorry, I was looking at the cover here. So that's the end of issue number 4. Great, spectacular fight. This, if you want to call that the climax, unfortunately, it's not the climax of this series. Although it is the most, I think it's the most memorable of the issues. So okay, let's go ahead and get into issue 5 here. Issue 5. Issue 5 is, the cover's pretty good. We got Thanos, the power of a god, but he is just this tiny, on this cover, he's this tiny little guy, and hovering above him is Galactus, Kronos, Stranger, the Celestials, Chaos, Order, Love, and Hate. Huge compared to Thanos, but Thanos is wielding this gauntlet ever so defiantly at these guys. So that's your cover. Very good cover, in my opinion. Now, this issue is called Astral Conflagration. And Astral Conflagration. Well, the cosmic entities have showed up to do battle with Thanos, and we have a tremendous battle that occurs in this issue. I mean, some of the stuff they can't even depict because it's so on such a grand scale. I'm sure that these guys who, I don't know if it was Ron Lim or if it was George Perez at the time, were like, hey, you need to do a battle scene with all these cosmic entities, and they're probably like, geez, how do you depict that? And they do there's a decent job where they get into specifics, but some of these pages are just, it's just nothing but yellow and orange and red and bright light just exploding off of the page from where this battle is occurring between these guys. Okay, now we find Eros and Nebula. During this battle, Eros and Nebula were saved from the wrath of the battle by an unlikely source. They were saved by Death. Death actually shielded them from this great battle that's occurring right there. Eros pretty much expected him to die in the middle of this battle, but Death saved. Okay. Now, there's a couple depictions. We got the Celestials. The Celestials, they do battle by sending planets, folks. They were sending planets at Thanos. And then we have Kronos, who's the master of time. Kronos tries to bury him in time. Doesn't work. Chaos and Order try to rip him apart. Doesn't work. The Galactus, Stranger, and Eon, who showed up, they attack him all at once, all for naught. Love and Hate attack him on the emotional spectrum. Again, Thanos victorious. In the middle of this attack, another attempt is made on the gauntlet, this time by Mephisto. Mephisto jumps on Thanos and tries to take the gauntlet. Mephisto really chose his opportunity very poorly. So he jumps on there, and of course Thanos is like, what the hell are you trying to do? So just as he is about to kill Mephisto, you got all these cosmic entities, just as he's about to kill Mephisto, then his love, his eternal love, Death, ends up attacking him. Oh, and that destroys it. It just breaks Thanos' cold dead heart if he's got one, and that gives the cosmic entities the opportunity they needed, and they all attack him. So they surprise him, and we have a full page of everyone attacking Thanos. But guess what? Thanos does not relent. The next page is all the cosmic beings that were attacking him are now in like this prison held high, like almost kind of like part of the shrine, part of Death's shrine now. They're just kind of hovering above in this, all stacked neatly in this cosmic prison, I guess you would say. So now who's left? We don't know. If Thanos is taking care of all these almost godlike entities, but another entity shows up, and that's Eternity. Now, if you remember, Eternity left earlier from the meeting. Didn't say that they were on Warlock's side in any way. Well, Eternity shows up, and there is a huge battle. A huge battle. But at the end of things, Thanos is the victor. And he then places Eternity into the prison. There's no one left, folks. Just write the Marvel Universe off. Thanos is God at this point in time. Thanos has now taken over the role of Eternity. That's about the best way I can place it, because you see Thanos kind of like sitting in this throne, but he's not moving. His eyes are blank. But above, you see Thanos, who's now taken over the role of Eternity. He's left his body behind. Well, big mistake, if I could quote Last Action Hero. Big mistake. As Nebula, our half-dead, half-alive granddaughter of Thanos, slowly zombified walk over, grabs the gauntlet off of Thanos' hand, puts it on her own, and becomes the owner of the Infinity Gauntlet. Immediately is back to her original self. She banishes Taraxia and Thanos to the outer reaches of space, to where Taraxia dies. Thanos is just about to die, or at least I don't know if he's going to die, but he's pretty much agreed with the fact that he's just going to be drifting out in space for the rest of his years. So that's that. However, Nebula is now the owner. The twist of events, we now have a new owner of the Infinity Gauntlet. Now, this to me is kind of where the story takes a turn into a part where I don't like it. I just didn't jive with this ending. If there's anything I can criticize about this book, this will be it. But so Nebula's got the gauntlet. As Thanos is drifting out in space, all of a sudden this teleport opens up. Boom! He drops into Doctor Strange's house, and there sits Warlock. Warlock summoned Thanos. So he convinces Thanos to help him get the gauntlet from Nebula. Reason being is she spent all that time as being this twisted, half-dead, half-alive thing, and they believe that she's got a psychotic break. It's one thing to have Thanos, an intelligent nihilist, as having the gauntlet. Imagine having a psychotic with having the power of God. They've made a decision that Warlock's like, you've got to help us get this back. So they send Hulk, Drax, the Destroyer, and not the Drax that you guys know. Okay, this is not the Drax that I've seen pictures of in Guardians of the Galaxy, which, by the way, I haven't seen yet. So yeah, boo on me. Trust me, I know. I need to see it. Wanted to go see it in the theaters, haven't seen it yet. But this isn't the Drax Destroyer that you guys. This dude's a huge Hulk-looking green dude, and he looks like he's wearing a John Cena championship belt. I mean, huge dude. They send Hulk, Drax, Firelord, and Thor, which I thought Thor was dead. And again, I don't know how they got Thor back. It might be something I missed in the issue. And they also send Dr. Doom. So apparently Warlock grabbed these guys and said, okay, hey, look, we're going to send you guys again. This time take out Nebula. So they go attack Nebula, and of course they're dispatched easily. And the final page is Thanos, Warlock, Doctor Strange, and Silver Surfer then show up to attack Nebula. And that's our final page. So that's where we're at with issue 5, and we're about to get into issue 6, the final issue of Infinity Gauntlet. The final issue is called Final Confrontation. And here we have Nebula, this psychotic zombie, what was a zombie. She's now quite a looker with blue skin, just put it that way. But we find out that, Nebula's getting ready to fight. She just took out Hulk, Thor, and Drax the Destroyer and all those guys. Kind of dispatched them pretty easily. Now she's got another battle she's got to fight against Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer, Dr. Doom. But what we notice is that Nebula doesn't know that Warlock is there. So somehow he's blocking her from understanding or seeing that she's there or that he's there. Thanos is kind of jawing back and forth with her, with Nebula, and Nebula's like, you know what? Everything you did the past 2 days, I'm erasing it. So Nebula just snaps her fingers, and now everything is back to the way it was 2 days before. Population's back. Dr. Doom's back on Earth. All our heroes that were dead are now alive. Earth is back to where it has to be. Everything has been undone, save for some of the people that were there. Nobody remembers what happened. So we have this epic confrontation, and now we just erased it. Nebula just erased everything which, I'll give him this. You certainly couldn't kill off all your superheroes like that. But anyway, so she welds the glove. She's now wielding the glove and the gauntlet, and she's bantering with Thanos, talking back and forth. Thanos distracts her a little bit by talking with her. Warlock, then, I think, from what I can see, he pretty much takes Nebula's arm. Now, remember, Nebula can't see him. Grabs a hold of the gauntlet and makes her strike the Surfer with some kind of power in the glove. And the Silver Surfer goes flying backwards. And then we realize that Silver Surfer and Warlock are now in Soul World, which is part of the Soul Gem. Now, I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but apparently Warlock's intent was to get it to where Warlock and Silver Surfer were both in the Soul World, which is a pocket universe in the Soul Gem on the Gauntlet. Yeah, follow me there, but that's where it's at. When she wished that everything was back the way it was 2 days before, Thanos did all the damage that he did. Well, that released all the cosmic beings, who then proceed to attack Nebula, which is a smart idea. However, this gauntlet, I'm telling you, she ends up getting the upper hand. Now, the next few pages are Warlock becoming one with the Soul Gem, and he somehow reaches out to the other 5 gems that are on the gauntlet. Now, this causes the gauntlet to feed back on Nebula, and she screams and drops the gauntlet. Of course, the gauntlet's laying on the ground, and everybody goes for it. At first, you're thinking, okay, well, first you see Thanos go for it, and then everybody else starts. You're thinking to stop Thanos, but then now, once they get a hold of Thanos, everybody else is trying to grab the gauntlet. Now, this is where it really reminds me of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. You got this one ring that rules them all. If you got a hold of it, it gives you great power, but it also can corrupt you. And everybody wants to get a hold of it. Anyway, that's what you see. You see everybody diving down there, trying to get a hold of the gauntlet. Everybody's fighting everybody. Just out of nowhere, boom, pops up Warlock, and Warlock's wearing the gauntlet, and he's like, "This ends now." So all those guys, Thanos, Hulk, Drax, they're all like, "Oh man," they kind of step back. It's funny because Warlock's all right. What are we going to do with Thanos? Thanos is like, I'm not going quietly, and he says he set this 15-second bomb on himself. He's going to kill himself himself so he doesn't get imprisoned. Hey, it's Thanos, you know. So Thor, they're trying to figure out, oh man, you know, I'm sure he's telling the truth. What the hell are we going to do? Because it's going to hurt all of us. Well, Thor promptly hits him with the hammer, hits Thanos with the hammer, and punts his ass out into space. It was a hammer punt all the way out into space. So Thanos goes flying out into space, and that's kind of where we leave Thanos. There's a bit of discussion of how Adam is now the wearer of the gauntlet, and how, you know, some people are worried that it's going to corrupt. But that's the end of your story. Now there is a little bit of an epilogue where Warlock, Pip the Troll, and Gamora visit a living Thanos on a distant planet. Now they come upon this farm. Thanos is now a farmer. Warlock comes up to him, and you're thinking that Warlock's going to end. You're done. But instead, Warlock allows him. Thanos reflects on his quest for power. You see, these are the last few pages. Thanos is reflecting on his quest for power, and what's strange is that he does not envy Warlock for having the gauntlet now. So after all this conflict, all this strife, Thanos may have learned a lesson. Like, you know what? Being a god, it really ain't as cracked up as it seems. Now that's the end of the Infinity Gauntlet. I've given you all 6 issues in an hour and a half. I'll give you my final thoughts on it. And most of the stuff I'm just kind of echoing what I've said earlier. As for a story, I think it was, it's a great, relevant story. Just like what Dave was saying earlier, it kind of seems like they're kind of working their way to this story with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Matter of fact, I did a little bit of research. There is, I don't know how long the clip is, but supposedly you can see the Infinity Gauntlet in the second Thor movie, and a lot of the stuff that they're working with here, in the Tesseract, things like that, are actually different. See, I haven't seen Thor 2, so I think that this gets mentioned in the after credits scene where there's a guy by the name of Collector. I've got to watch that movie too. Yeah, I know. I host a comic book podcast that guy hasn't watched too many comic book movies. That's sad. But from what I understand, they mentioned the Tesseract, and there's another part that are the Infinity Stones. This particular series, they may be instituting in some form or fashion into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. At least that's the way they're working. So it's a great, relevant story for the time right now. The art, I think the art's tremendous. Ron Lim, George Perez, they did a great job. Some of the, like I said, some of the battles, they did a great job getting those battles across. So for the art, I definitely give this a plus. Story is definitely a plus. Now for the bad, man, I'm not too keen on the ending. Now if somebody else could write a better ending to this book, I think it could be done pretty easily. I would have loved to have seen the High Fathers or the Sky Fathers, Odin and all the rest of them take a shot at Thanos. But I don't like the fact that Nebula gets a hold of it, and then all of a sudden Thanos is teaming with everybody that he just fought. I mean, he practically killed. I mean, you watch him kill these superheroes. What you notice in this series is that Warlock is above all that. And I say that because he knows the bigger picture. That's just about one thing that's about the only the real criticism I can give. Look, I didn't like the fact that Nebula gets a hold of the glove. Within 2 seconds, it's just like, oh, reversed everything. I guess if you're a god, you can do that. So as from a recommendation, I wrote this down here. Hell yes, get a hold of it if you can. Oh, man, that thing Dave was talking about, I imagine it was hardback. I would hope that it's hardback. The $125 edition, get a hold of it if you can. If not, go to your local library. If you live in the state of Ohio, you could get this. You could probably get all these stories from your local library. Have them sent to your local library so you can get them. I'm actually in the process of reading the Infinity Gauntlet Aftermath right now, which I got from the library. Huge trade. Basically has, I think, the Infinity Watch, which is the stories kind of immediately after the Infinity Gauntlet series. So anyway, or support your local comic book dealer. I should have said that first, because those are the guys we need to support. But yeah, that's all I have for the series. I really hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown of it. If you've never read it, now you know. You kept me in your ear for close to an hour and a half now. That's it. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my plugs. You can follow me on Twitter at StiznarKey. That's one way to get on there and interact with me, or discuss anything I missed or screwed up. I'm open for any constructive criticism. Bring it on. I love to talk with anybody about comics. So if you got something to say, send it to me. I'm on Twitter there. I also want to give a shout out to my buddy Jordan at Asylum Comics. He plugged the show tonight. No prompting whatsoever, and I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. Asylum Comics here in Marietta. That's now. You can find Radulich and Broadcasting shows on iTunes, Stitcher. Just search Radulich for some great podcast entertainment. Head over to Facebook. Look for Radulich and Broadcasting Network on Facebook. Give that page a like. All our podcasts are going to be on there. Plus, we shoot some fun entertainment news your guys' way. We just keep things simple and have a good time. Other than that, I think we're done. So I'm going to try and find my outro music. Guys, I appreciate it once again, sticking around with me and hanging out and talking Infinity Gauntlet. I hope it was up to your expectations. I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something. That's the main thing. I'm bringing stuff out there so you guys know a little bit more if it wasn't something you was aware of already. So thank you again for joining me on Source Material. My name is Jesse, and I'll be talking to you guys either going to be next week or the week after, but it's going to be soon. So let me find the outro music, guys. I will let you go in just a moment. I'm going to keep talking. Find the outro music. Here I go. 1, 2, 3.